up, everybody? Good morning. I'm here with a picture of Dan. He's not connected yet, but I think he'll be hopping on once he gets his setup connected again. Excited to talk to the community. Probably the big news this week is we had reference client 4.0.31 released, which locks in EIP 27, which means that post the vote, which passed it above a threshold of 92%, that's going to be locked in, and it will activate once we reach the set block height. Looking forward to talking to the community. So why don't we hop in and start getting to questions? Let's see. What's going to be the first question? You want to pick one, Andy? It looks like one of the questions. Will you treat miners better than Ethereum? How far would you go to keep ASICs off the network to keep Ergo GPU mineable only? That's a good question. Yeah, I would definitely like miners to have control of governance in Ergo. You know, a part of why that's important is because miners are the initial, basically they're used for token distribution and proof of work. Looks like I disappeared, Andy. and so being that they're the initial token distribution, outlet, I think that, it makes a lot of sense for them to have kind of the ultimate say, which is a part of what we've tried to do with our governance mechanism. So Ergo does not want to be one of these proof of work chains where miners are kind of on the outside. We would like to give them the tools to pull them in to the governance side of Ergo. Now, a good question here that is kind of in the middle is going to be, what does field programmable gate arrays, where does that land? And that's actually a hard question to answer. You do have a potential for FPGA mining on Ergo. And really, in my opinion, it probably is going to break down to the efficiency advantage, right? And I try to look at that in the same light as I would kind of the electricity cost advantage, meaning you have a certain range for miners where on the low end of the spectrum, you have, let's say, even some hobbyist miners, let's say in like Texas, where they may be paying 7, 8, 9 cents per kilowatt hour. And then you have people that are in areas where electricity costs are quite a lot higher. And, sometimes you'll get into, 24, 25, 26 cents per kilowatt hour. And so then I have to ask the question, okay, well, some miners are going to naturally have an efficiency advantage in terms of the electrical costs, right? And that's not something that you as an individual miner, wherever your jurisdiction is and whatever the cost is, can really directly impact. There are some, potential ways around it. Like I know GitBlock is trying to create a service to host GPUs for miners to lower their electricity costs. So in the event of field programmable gate arrays, I think we really need to look at like the efficiency advantage that creates. And if it's something that is within that same margin of electrical costs, maybe, but ultimately I'd like to leave that up to miners. Now, in terms of like a pure ASIC, Ergo itself does go through periodic adjustments to its memory table and its algorithm. So it would be difficult to create an ASIC that would adapt to that longer term. That does give us kind of the ASIC resistance aspect of it, not just now, but over time. But ultimately, the main difference is going to be we listen to our miners. We actually did go through one hard fork, I believe in 2020, where non-outsourceable pools were broken. So we had a pool spring up that was mining via smart contract. and it gave that party an advantage over all of our solo miners. They weren't too happy about that. Well, the team listened. Ultimately, the network in proof of work is a network of miners. And so our goal is to keep GPU mining for general purpose hardware around, and give you, as a miner, flexible adjustments in terms of your supply side costs to where you can adjust so that it doesn't just become a net negative, because proof of work is all about incentives, right? And if a project and perhaps the market conditions do not create the right incentives to attract miners, we lose security. So we need to have some mechanisms to adapt to external factors. And in Ergo, we have, the base computational cost, the base fee, storage rent. There's a variety of different levers that miners can potentially adjust if mining becomes, unprofitable to the point where, you as a miner are forced to unplug. Now, I do think that naturally over time, GPUs are already kind of on track, becoming more and more efficient. That's just how the technology is progressing. In terms of like the macro side, it's pretty interesting that AMD bought Xilinx, I believe in February. So longer term, we may see some, new generation of GPUs. And so ultimately, as a proof of work, we kind of need to adapt as the general purpose hardware in our industry evolves. But the simple answer is yes, I would like to see miners have a seat at the table, and collectively we listen to their feedback, and ultimately they have a large say in the network. But that also kind of gives the mining community a certain responsibility that they've never had before. So I would love to see miners, kind of collectively organize, start these type of discussions, and really help us push the ball forward in terms of proof of work. Because, with Ethereum leaving proof of work, it does leave that industry, into a lot of unknowns, and things could potentially get a little bit messy. So I hope miners step up and kind of work with us to kind of create a home for long-term profitability and proof of work. Morning, Dan.
So what did you say is morning?
Nice.
I go by Zulu. I go by UTC because I'm in so many time zones now. I have no idea what time it is anymore. My brain just decided it's like, screw this. Okay, I'm just gonna do my own thing. No, yeah, because I just got back from the U.S. and now I'm going back to the U.S. for consensus. Then after that, I'm going to Southeast Asia, because then that's a different time zone. And then I'm coming back here, and then I'm going to another part of Asia. That's a different time zone. So it's fun. So Joe, you were saying, so what's up? What are high energy costs? You said 20 some cents.
Yeah, it depends where people mine. I'm just saying that in terms of like the general user market for miners, they're always going to be in a certain jurisdiction that has set electricity costs, right? So certain areas offer a natural advantage to, home hobbyists, garage, and even professional miners. If you look at Bitcoin, for a long time, there was like, hey, we're going to mine in China in the rainy season, and then we might migrate some of the hash rate, towards areas with coal generation because they have excess electricity. So there's kind of always been this incentive to compete for energy costs. And that does create a certain advantage in the market. And then I guess
Japan will definitely lose. I think I'm paying something like, in cents, I think it's about 35 cents per kilowatt hour out here.
Oof. Yeah, we even have some miners that get creative, and they run they use their profitability to try to get solar or some sort of energy advantage during the day, and then create an average price based on mining at night when the kilowatt hours might be cheaper. Mining is a complex thing. The miners get a ton of shit that they don't deserve, because the reality is that is kind of like having it's kind of like having a baby. You know, your rig tends to go down at the worst time. There's a lot of maintenance, and it requires a lot of time and attention and energy.
Wait a second. My rig never went down when I had my son. What are you talking about? Never mind. I'm thinking about something else. Well, so did we do updates? I know I'm a little late to the, because you look all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and then somebody asked me, he's like, rough night, Dan. I'm like, yeah, rough week. And, try 14-hour one-way plane rides. that'll mess up your week pretty well. All right, well, let's do some updates. You want to do some updates, and then we can jump back into the questions?
I got into EIP 27. That's the big thing. I know there's going to be a ton of questions about the new exchange. That's something that, the contract is signed, everything is in motion. But the reality is we have to wait for the green light on their side for testing. And I get in this situation every damn time where it's like, okay, I have an NDA, right? So I can't really get any specific details. Otherwise, they could potentially cancel the contract on us. But I'd also like to let the community know that, we're actually doing something on the back end. We're not just, spinning our wheels and talking shit on.
We can neither confirm nor deny that we're doing.
Exactly.
We're like the U.S. government. We can neither confirm nor deny that we are working with this exchange and getting things are neither being done or not done.
Yeah, it's painful.
And and I was actually this is an active thing. It's you would think that, well, an exchange decides to list you and everything is peaches and cream afterwards, and it's not. It is a lot of work. It's a lot of organizational work. It's a lot of waiting. It's a lot of kind of having to be at the mercy of their backlog. And plus with Ergo being its own blockchain, of course we love it because we're our own thing, but also for an exchange to integrate Ergo takes extra time. If Ergo was some, ERC20 token, it can get integrated in within a matter of a couple of days.
Yeah.
But we are our own thing. We're complex. Things need to be learned by that team. So yeah, it takes quite a bit of time. But yeah, we are actively working on it. Actively
bothering them.
Yeah. I am actively having passive aggressive conversations with so is Joe.
That's right.
And yeah, listen, we are in the home stretch. I think we're in the home stretch. I think we're like 90% there. So right after that, we're going to start figuring out a marketing campaign for us when the actual listing goes live, and we will announce these promotions that are going to be that are going to be happening. So this is an announcement of announcement, because I can't really make the announcement right now because before somebody else announce it. So it's not even a Justin Sun type of thing. It's kind of like a flea market version of Justin Sun. It's like, yeah, I'm going to make an announcement because I can't announce the announcement.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make an announcement of me being able to announce the announcement in the future.
It's painful.
Yeah. Yeah. So what else are we doing other than that?
Well, Ergo had finished this week. That was another big update since the last time we had 16, 17 projects submit. Now, being that there's 16, 17 projects submit that all have documentation and code, it's going to take the time, and judges, it's going to take a little bit of time to dig through everything. I think that probably we're about 10 days out, but we had a lot of good projects submit. Exciting to see the community go to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are actively working on the Ergo meetup. I've been talking about it on social media. We do not have a solid venue set just yet, but I am actively working on setting something up at Consensus in Austin. And also, what I would like to do is, aside from setting up a live event, I'd also like to do a remote event. So basically, it's in the same place. We're going to be able to do a remote event with ergonauts from around the world that cannot join, or some ergonauts that might be, in the mountains of Colorado, and they're hanging out with bears and squirrels and stuff, and wear really nice shirts versus t-shirts with messed up collars. Yeah, that always bothers me, when the collar's messed up. Like my mom always gave me shit about that. But anyway, I'm talking about Joe. Joe, are you gonna come or what?
I'm still like in the exploring phase. I'm sorry. I have looked at flight last night.
In Japanese, we have a word for you. It's called yuzufudan.
What does
It
that
means indecisive.
mean?
But in Japanese, it sounds a lot more severe, because one thing you don't want to give somebody is a reason to be embarrassed. I'm not saying it is embarrassing, but for a Japanese person, that is embarrassing. You're indecisive. No, I'm not. I just don't know what I want. Yeah, that's indecisive. Yeah. Anyway, all right, Joe, listen, we still have a few days. Maybe I'll convince you. I mean, we are going to have Ergo people at the event. It is confirmed. We're going to have Ergo people at Consensus. So I will be there. And hopefully we can get Joe to come down. We'll definitely set up something with Alex where he's going to do a talk remotely. And like I said, we're also going to set something up. I don't know, maybe through Sigma Valley. I don't know, maybe if that's possible, or and maybe another platform that can do kind of a live virtual mix. Again, Joe and I will work it over the weekend. We'll figure out what we can do. And as soon as we have an answer, we will definitely let everybody know what's going on. I really think it would be great. I really think this is a good opportunity for a lot of people to get together, because like I said, there's going to be a large Cardano audience at Consensus, and a lot of Cardano people are Ergo people. So like I said, I already know that there's going to be Ergo people there, and plus if we can get some more Ergo people to come down and hang out with us and do a nice nice in-person get together, because I know some Ergo people really like to stay on, but those that don't, or you can wear like a paper bag with a printout of your profile picture.
There you go.
The crypto quokka. Is it quokka?
I think that's.
Am I saying it right?
50-50. It's early here. I'm not gonna make the call whether that's right or not.
Well, it's early. Oh, it's always early somewhere, Joe. You gotta remember that. For me, it's also still early because I'm still on US time, although it's like 10 something or other right now. Right. So that's a couple of updates from our end. From my end, I'm still working out the details of the ecosystem fund. I'm going to have some meetings in the US later this week about it. So yeah, a lot of exciting stuff. On a personal note, I'm gearing up right now to start a lot of the core development of the Palmyra decks. So again, getting into some, getting my hands, I guess, what do you want to call it, dirty or not dirty? Getting my hands dirty.
Coding is always dirty until you get it up and refactor it. You can say get your hands dirty.
Yeah, and I just don't want to make it sound like the tooling is dirty. The tooling is beautiful. It's just it's a figure of speech anyway. Just because people get sensitive these days. I don't want to hurt people's feelings. Well, some people's feelings. Some people's feelings I don't give a shit about. Some people. Anyway, you get what I'm saying.
I get what.
So yeah. So a lot of stuff going on. Again, will be really exciting to see everybody at Consensus that can make it. Those of you that can't, still be great to think of you at Consensus. So we will see you there or think of you there. All right, let's get back to some questions, Joe. I think I also can get into this into these. All right, hikikomori. Yeah, that's something else. Anyway, let's see. Let's see. Well, there's a nice question for me. I guess I can answer that. So it's a question for Daniel-san. Is Twitter part of your job or your break? Blink twice if you secretly hate it. Actually, you know what? I don't hate Twitter. I just don't like many people on it. that's the thing. I actually think it's a great community tool. A lot of the community is on there for better or for worse. You know, it's a weird medium. It's got a lot of anonymity, right? So in fact, it's mostly based on anonymity. So you know, people kind of a lot of the people that are anonymous on it don't feel the same. Don't feel the same responsibility for repercussions if you say something, right? Because it's anonymous. So a lot more people talk a lot more shit on Twitter because, well, who knows who, you know, Crypto Dude 27 is? You don't know unless they dox themselves. So is it part of my job or my break? It's both. I do it because I want to be in touch with the community. That's where the community is. I really enjoy speaking to the community, and I really enjoy being part of the community. So on one hand, yeah, I do it for business, but I also do it, you know, for personal thoughts as well. Sometimes you'll see me completely, you know, talk about things that are not related to anything that has to do with work. So it's just, yeah, it's kind of weird. But I can tell you one thing. Everything that I put on Twitter, it's a real thought. None of this stuff is manufactured. None of this stuff is like, you know, some accounts or some people will put together these generic or these kind of cookie cutter tweets just to send them out there for engagement. I don't do that. Something pops into my head, I talk about it, right? A thought pops into my head, I articulate it into a tweet, I'll put it out there. All these are kind of like, you know, little epiphanies I have throughout the day, if you want to call them that. Yeah, so and it's not for everybody. You know, some people can't stand it. I can't stand the popularity side of it, you know, because a lot of there's many people that are like chasing clout. I can't stand that. You know, for me, like I said, it's a medium to be able to connect to you guys. I live far away. I live in Japan. A lot of the community is all over the world. There I have the most kind of instant response from people versus other places. I'm also on Telegram. I'm also somewhat on Discord, although I'm not a big fan of Discord. So yeah, I guess that's I can go on about this, but I won't. Hopefully that'll clear some things up. How do you feel about it, Joe? Joe is I think Joe's got a love-hate relationship with Twitter as well. I see you on there, but then I can see you on there.
I affectionately call it the Bluebird Asylum, just because, you know, it's like there's always some ongoing drama or fight, and I don't know. I look at life and it's like, okay, I have limited time, limited energy, limited attention. And so for me, it's like, okay, my priority isn't to waste my time, energy, attention, thought, you know, emotion, all that kind of nonsense. But I do, you know, engage. I do talk to people, but in terms of like my priority and like taking things too seriously and getting caught up in just the drama, you know, and sometimes I think it's just engagement, conflict. You know, everybody, it's like sports entertainment fighting on the keyboard or something. Who knows?
Yeah,
you know, I don't take it too seriously.
It's legitimate.
Yeah,
but
and
sometimes it's legitimate, sometimes somebody, because there's some people have this just across the board policy: don't engage negativity, don't engage trolls, don't engage this. Well, I mean, if somebody really is a troll and they're just out there just to say, oh, you're an asshole. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. Your head is big. You're, whatever. You're balding. You're middle aged. Like stuff like that, which are actually all true about me. Anyway, that's one thing. But when somebody's actually spreading misinformation, right? That's why I engage with these people, and that is why I am out there, like FUD fighting, I guess you could say. And sometimes, it's pointless, but really, it's not even about changing that person's mind per se, because I can also understand, if somebody's just set in their ways and it's pointless to spend your energy trying to change their particular perspective. But there's also, you have to respond to a lot of these things, because if you don't respond to them and this misinformation is out there, then people that don't know about this, people from outside of this whole conversation, they'll see this, they don't see a response from anybody from our side, and then they're going to say, oh, well, okay, so I guess this person is right because the other person just didn't say anything. So that's why, I'm out there sometimes and I just call these people out on, if they're lying about, well, not a lot of people are really out there bashing Ergo just yet. Just wait. Yet. Yeah, just yet, because just wait till we get nice and big, then you're going to get it just as much as Cardano, because we're going to be a threat to other people's lunch, because the Ethereums and the Solanas and the AVAXs of the world. I'm not saying that those systems don't have any value to add. In some cases they do, yes. But the community over there gets really upset with chains like us, chains like Cardano, and we'll get upset with chains like Ergo, because we're kind of challenging their paradigm of this whole VC thing that they're doing. So yeah, you just need to be out there, and you need to really, have an answer for this. You don't have to keep going back to it, but hitting back once with information, making sure that it's on record, there's nothing wrong with that. We need to do that. So, that's just my perspective on it. Okay, well, actually, there's another question here from Augustus Kent. And so, have Dan and Joe ever met in real life? Will it be emotional?
So emotional.
No, we haven't. No, we haven't. And yes, it will be.
Yeah, music in the background and everything. Slow motion, photography, whole 9 yards. Yeah. In fact, it's going to be like, like that one scene when, what was it? Horrible Bosses, when they're walking out the bar and they're all walking slow, but everybody else is walking normal pace. Yeah, it's going to be the same with this. Just me and Joe, we're going to be crying and like, finally. And Joe's probably going to be like, like up to my waist, because he's like normal height, right, Joe? You're like, I'm 6'3",
like 6 feet tall, right? 6'3". Okay, you're gonna be to my lower chest, Joe. Lower chest. So wear some heels, okay? If you do come down to consensus, wear heels. Can you do that for me?
I'll wear some boots. Best I got.
All right. Excellent. So we have another question here. This is actually for me about my project, and I kind of would like to put that out. So, will Dan's project be open source? I will do as much open source as possible. I would like to do everything open source. Again, it is. It just depends. It depends on if open source is going to be the best. The best scenario for what is going to be done. I believe it will be. So like I said, my intention right now is open source. It's still too early for me to give a definite verdict on it. But like I said, at this point, yes, I would like it to be open source. And I would also really love to get community engagement, community help, community development, because it's going to be an ecosystem. It's not just going to be this one code base and bam, it's done. It's going to be a growing ecosystem. And I really, really, really want to have community engagement, community chiming in on how things are done. So yeah, that's where it is. So let's see. Dan is going to carry Joe like an officer and a gentleman. I think it's going to be the other way around. Maybe Joe is going to carry me. What do you think, Joe? You're pretty strong, right?
Relative, but yeah, I got you covered. Don't worry, Dan.
Okay. Awesome. Let's see. This is a good question right here. So what are your thoughts on establishing a developer fund? Could this be done by raising transaction fees? What do you think about that, Joe? Because I actually have been working on this. I've been working on an ecosystem fund as I've said many times. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so I am not a proponent of robbing Peter to pay Paul. And what I mean by that is if you did want to create a developer fund that was going to potentially take food off the plate of miners, that has to be passed by miners. That, you know, you get into a sketchy area that a lot of blockchains have gotten into where they just burn their miners, which in my opinion is a little insane because, you know, miners are the network in proof of work. Now, is there funding potential on top of the network that doesn't require trying to rob, you know, miners' food, their, you know, off their table, so to speak? Yeah, there are. You could potentially have that built into protocols via fees. You know, you could potentially do that in terms of bringing in external actors that, you know, potentially have a large stake in the Ergo ecosystem. So it's really a matter of saying, okay, how do we create a developer fund that doesn't steal from, you know, people? And it's more of like an open, transparent fee model. Now, if miners pass that, sure, I think it'd be an interesting concept, but that has to come from miners. In terms of applications, there are a lot of, you know, various applications in crypto that have built-in fee mechanisms that go to the development team. So generally, I would say a larger ecosystem fund could potentially be like a voluntary agreement across applications to add a fee that goes to a common DAO, or you have the potential for some exterior actor that comes in and funds it and kind of creates. In many projects, it's like incubation, and then, you know, they also have a certain incentive in terms of being an early backer of projects. And, you know, if things are developed in a way that's open source, it benefits everybody. So all of those are possible. It's just a matter of saying, okay, it's always great to say, hey, Dan, I want a fund, so I'm taking your money, right? We need to stay away from that.
Yeah, you definitely do. I'm not going to give you my money. Okay, Joe, I'll give you some of my money, but it's because you asked nicely. Okay. Nice. Yeah. No, it's definitely yeah. I mean, look, taxation without representation never works, right? Yeah. It gets people angry and it starts wars. It starts wars in the real world, and it starts wars in the blockchain ecosystem as well. You piss off miners will go to war. They will not like that. If there's not incentive enough for them to do it, and it's not done voluntarily, and that's a big thing. It's all about that relationship. You know, if you want to keep peace in the ecosystem, you have to give everybody a choice. Not everybody's going to be able to get what they want. Okay, but at least they have to feel represented. That's I mean, that's the biggest thing. So, you know, like, for example, this is one of the things that, well, this is one of the reasons why I'm building on Ergo. Well, I'm building on Ergo for obvious reasons. But one of the reasons is how attractive the fees are, right? How little it costs to mint, how little it costs to transact. I mean, it's very attractive for somebody like myself who's basically an Zengate that is looking to tap into a multi-billion-dollar business where we're potentially going to have millions and millions and millions of transactions and potentially millions of users. Each one of these users is going to be using NFTs. They're going to be using utility NFTs. And what I would like to see is each one of their product units have a unique NFT attached to them. So this is in the case of Paul Meyer, and in the case of Paul Meyer, we're going to have unique NFTs, utility NFTs attached to each one of the commodities, right? So each unit, so whatever the unit is, say you're dealing with Sri Lankan tea, it's I don't know, maybe like a kilo, right? You sell it by the kilo. So 1 kilo, and it's actually like a brick, right? So it's a unit. It's an actual physical unit. That physical unit is going to be identified with its own NFT if the producer so wishes. Well, when the cost of an NFT is a fraction of a dollar, it's like a cent or whatever. It's literally something like that, right? It's like a couple of pennies on Ergo. And you can then go to somebody who produces 1 million units or a couple of million units, and you can say, okay, each one of these is going to have an incurred cost of, I don't know, like 5 cents, right? That's doable, right? That's doable. But if you're going to go to somebody and say, okay, this is going to be an incurred cost of $1 per unit, if you're talking about 1 million units, that's $1 million. I mean, that's a big price tag. And so that is actually going to be a deal breaker for many enterprises. They're going to say, okay, well, so now I'm losing $1 million, or now I'm actually investing $1 million into this solution that it has to be invested. This is my profit, and this is my overhead. And that if it's my profit becomes my overhead. So then what is, it's a harder sell. Why am I talking about this? Well, I'm talking about this because at some point, I mean, it might not stay like that forever, right? It's actually in Ergo, we've decided to intentionally do that to attract business, right? To attract users into the ecosystem. Am I correct about this, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this was an agreement to keep the fees low, to keep minting costs low, to attract. Yeah. Go ahead.
We have a balance that it's a larger conversation that we need to have with miners, that the low transaction fees open up a lot of potential tooling for miners. One example would be like, okay, if I'm mining ETH, right? And let's just say I'm a hobbyist miner. I have a couple of GPUs, plugged in that are, spinning, hopefully collecting some shares. How much am I going to need to mine in order to just pay the transaction fee? How long? What's the time frame, or how many blocks am I going to have to hit in order to do that? Sometimes that in and of itself can be painful for miners. Yes, they are making money on one hand, but they're also losing money on the other hand. The second thing is that the low transaction cost enables a lot of unique features that ultimately benefit miners. You look at the smart pool that GetBlock is created. You look at the potential for multi, asset reward via subpooling. That's only possible because the actual network itself, it makes economic sense. If the fees were too high, if we did have something like gas, which luckily we don't, you wouldn't be able to do that type of thing. It actually, on one hand, yes, miners do collect fees, but on the other hand, it limits their ability to have tooling and potentially open up new revenue channels, which ultimately is a way to offer them incentives. So there is always going to be some balance. I think that's actually a part of why the first scaling solution we're seeing being played with, implemented, is actually on top of a mining pool, because GetBlock understands that ultimately, if they want to deliver profit incentive, they need to kind of protect the transaction costs and essentially make it economically viable to do that. So
it's all about that economic viability, Joe. It's all about that, and that's what I was saying is, I mean, yeah, at some point it is possible. It's not always going to be this cheap, right? So it's not a forever thing. At some point, the miners can then vote to increase fees.
And the reality is too that we also are a network that if you look at how mining pools select transaction, they do it based on fee per byte. So you also have like the base fee, and then you have the kind of mining tip, let's call it. And as the network grows in terms of utilization, I think that just in terms of paying miners extra is going to be more popular. We've actually already seen that. There was I think it was about a week and a half ago, there was an arbitrage bot on Ergo. Someone wrote a script that calculates price differences and tries to basically equalize across markets at a profitability. And I think the fee that they paid for one transaction was 300 ERG, and they still made some profit on top of that. So even though the base fee itself was low, that extra I guess you can call it bribe if you want. The minor fee, ultimately gets passed on. So I do think that side's going to develop. But if the base fee gets raised on one hand, you are also taking from some of the economic viability of features that do serve miners. So there's a long-term balance that they need to maintain. Now, I'm not the guy in charge of that. Luckily, I hope that as our mining community, finds a home and gets more familiar with how things work, we can just have intelligent conversations and in terms of where's profitability at and how do we maintain that.
Right. And it's also about, miners are not going to want to kill their own network, right? So they're not just going to say, okay, screw this. Now it's going to cost $5 to mint an NFT on Ergo, live with it. People aren't going to live with it. They're just going to go somewhere else, right? I don't think that's going to happen. But again, this is yeah. And I just don't see that happening ever. It doesn't matter how big we get. But the point is that it's all about that profitability aspect that you're talking about, and it's all about what makes financial sense. And I think that kind of going back to what we're talking about, choice. Giving everybody a choice, so that choice can be given. So there could be a proposition out there to say we're going to raise the fees, and we're going to raise the fees exponentially, right? And there's going to be like 10% of the people, 10% of the miners are going to say, oh yeah, let's do it. Hypothetically, I'm not saying that there is, hypothetically, right? There could be a small minority or like 10% or 15% that say, oh yeah, let's do it, let's hike up those fees. And then the rest of the 85% say, no, that's really stupid. That's going to kill business. And if the 85% will win and 15% is going to be unhappy, but they were given a voice, right? They just weren't the majority. That's how it works in a democracy.
I think there isn't a business in the world that doesn't have to, on one hand, look at potential profit margin, and then on the other hand, look at being competitive in their industry. Miners,
right, exactly.
on Ergos have to, manage that. But, giving them supply side adjustments to find that balance is in terms of, the profit margin and the competitive nature of Ergo and, ultimately their cost of producing ERG. I think that really should fall in this supply side. That's never really happened in crypto. We tend to do this thing where it's either devs or just hard programmed in, and the reality is electricity costs aren't stable, GPU costs aren't stable. There's a lot of instability, so having some mechanism of supply side adjustment for costs makes a lot of sense to me anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's move on to this next. It's more of a comment, right? And so I would like to go there because I do constantly touch on this, and that is that this time period in Ergo reminds me of the Cardano Byron, Era, and Shelley launch. There was no hate. It wasn't on every exchange. A lot of the excitement within the ecosystem. I appreciate you all. In a way, yes. Well, obviously, I was there. I was there during Byron. I was there before Byron, and I can tell you for a fact. And I've said that before, and I got a little pushback about it, but I'm still a firm believer that this period of Ergo is very much like, when we just launched Cardano, when there were, only a few guys. Actually, a lot of these people are still with us, like Conrad or like Rick McCracken. Rick's been around for ages, and he remembers the early days as well as I do. That yeah, I mean, there was always drama. There always is drama. It's where everybody's, it's people. But there was a lot less drama, a lot more like, we're gonna make it, guys. We're gonna make it. Let's make this thing happen. Let's make staking happen. Let's build stuff. And that is that's what I'm seeing with Ergo, and that's why I'm really excited about it. Actually, Charles was saying something like that when we did the interview with him and Alex. He was saying that this reminds him of early days of Bitcoin, again, because it's got that energy. I mean, Ergo is not without its own drama. We do have our drama here and there. But all in all, the community is really healthy. And I really like working with a community like this. You have a lot of objective thinkers. You got a lot of people, that are really passionate about the tech, really passionate about not just the tech, but the mission itself as well. Some people might not understand the tech, but they are passionate about the mission, or some might understand the tech, but don't have this, intricate, deep scientific knowledge of it. And you don't need to have that to really be passionate about Ergo. It's just about the mission. It's about blockchain inclusion, right? So that's what the mission of Ergo is blockchain for the everyday people. So it's basically blockchain inclusion, because with a lot of blockchains, even now, even with the multi-trillion-dollar market cap that we have, it's still it's a niche type of industry, and a lot of people are swayed from getting into or using actually blockchain, not just crypto, right? Not just holding crypto, but using blockchain technology, because they feel it's too intimidating for them, right? They don't get it, how to use it. Why would I use it? What is the difference between this and this? They don't understand that there's applications beyond payments. It's not just about you paying me with crypto. It's about all these different tools that can be built using blockchain technology that are really this next generation of really societal evolution and financial evolution. I really think that this kind of thinking is still really alive in the Ergo ecosystem. There's not many moon boys at all. There's people really just passionate about what we're doing, and that's why I love this community. What do you say about that, Joe?
No, I think it's a solid assessment. It kind of goes back to the Twitter drama. We don't have a lot because generally we're focused on building things, and we're a relatively small community. Maybe that'll change. Who knows? I hope that as we grow, we can just maintain that focus on building things the right way and having quality discussions, debates, versus just kind of going off into the weeds and get into a lot of the unnecessary nonsense that I see in this space.
Yeah, and what I see with a lot of these, I mean, I see this with the Cardano fudders, the FUD muffins as they call them. It's intentional misleading, right? It's not just about them not knowing; it's about them intentionally misleading because they're pumping their own bags. Like this, this idiot the other day, he was saying, "Oh, Cardano never goes down because nobody uses it." No, you're an idiot. Cardano is being used. Okay, it's the one of the largest blockchains in the world by transaction. These transactions are being done by people. It's being used. You're an idiot. It doesn't go down because it's built a lot better than other blockchains we're not going to name that do go down. It's just about the approach, is how it's built. Ergo is the same way. I believe that when Ergo gets to the top 10, I don't like to talk about market cap, but let's just say, okay, the top 10 or the top 15 in market cap. I know you guys like the market cap thing. I think that we're not going to have a problem. I think that the fundamentals, the way it's being built right now, is right. What we're doing is right. We're building it right. We're not moving fast and breaking things. We're building it right. The core development team and the community's got a great understanding and a great feeling for what needs to be done to create a solid, scalable, sustainable system that is meant to be around for a long time versus pump right now, get stuff done as soon as possible, make as much money as possible, and what happens in a year doesn't matter. This was done with Cardano when we were building Cardano. This is also being done with Ergo. And just kind of being out there and misleading people about that is just makes one look like an idiot. I really think that in the end, it always, the truth always comes out on top, right? Sometimes it gets diluted by these people. It comes out on top. That's why Cardano is still here, and that's why Ergo is still here and will be here. Doesn't matter how much FUD we face going forward, it's still going to be here because the technology will speak for itself, and it does speak for itself. And that's why the ecosystem is growing more and more and more. I keep saying this, and this is not just me, giving everybody a pep talk. And everybody knows this. The ecosystem has exploded in the past 6 months. It has. I was obviously following the Ergo ecosystem even before I joined the Ergo Foundation. I remember when Ergo just launched, because, like I said, we were internally talking about doing some things. And of course, I know Alex for a long time now. And what it was before versus now, or even what it was when I just joined versus now, it's like night and day, and I believe that it'll keep growing. I believe that even a year from now, we're going to look at this time right now, and we're going to say, oh, wow, we only had 100 submissions at Ergo Hack. Those were the days, now we have 1,000, and now we have 10,000, and now we have, 10,000 dApps being built on Ergo or whatever. It's every iteration that is going to make the last iteration seem really quaint and really long time ago, a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. That's my 25 cents or 20 yen or whatever. What are your feelings about that, Joe?
Well, I think as the ecosystem grows, it's already kind of getting to the point where it's beyond everything I can track. So, for me, my focus becomes, more the core protocol, and how do we encourage people to build the right way? How do we keep open source community development kind of like a core ethos in terms of how people interact with the system? And, I think ultimately educating users to ask the right questions. That's the kind of the worst part of the crypto space in terms of, in my opinion, is that, so you do have people that just make outlandish claims and, talk random nonsense and act in somewhat reckless disregard for reality, right? But then you also have legitimate questions that could be asked and explored, and you have trade-offs in design, and one project went one way, one project went another way. Why? So I think ultimately having that intelligent discussion is important, and that is one thing that sometimes disappears in the marketing and just general protectionism, I'll call it. So it's like the opposing side of FUD is like the anti-FUD, where you don't want to go through life covering your ears, and you just want to make objective choices and try to understand the technology, and that's always a process.
Yeah.
Know your assumptions.
Yeah,
I call it.
There's actually a really, it's been answered by other people in the chat right here, but I just kind of would like to bring it up because this constantly comes up on in Cardano we constantly hear this kind of question. And so what happens to Ergo tomorrow if Alex is unable to contribute for one reason or other, aside a site of you two, meaning us two, not a lot of other Ergo staff is active.
Sure.
What will happen if Alex? Well, what happens if Alex doesn't want to contribute tomorrow? Personally, we're going to be sad about that. What's going to happen to Ergo? Nothing. We're going to keep doing it. It's a decentralized ecosystem. There's other contributors. There's work is going to be done. Alex, Alex doesn't want to be the guy. Like that's why I don't really see a lot of him. And you say even less of him before I joined. I I pulled him out. I'm like, come on, Alex, come on. You got to talk to everybody. You have a lot. They want to hear you. Alex just want to sit there and he wants to develop the system, and he's always been like that. Like I said, I've known Alex since early 2016. So it's going on 7 years now, and he's always been like that. He likes to do the work. He doesn't like to just really talk about it too much. He doesn't want to be out there kind of, chasing clout.
He's never going to sell used cars. He's not a salesman.
He's not. No. He's a dev. He's a straight dev and researcher. That guy is as dev and researcher as you get. He's as egghead as you get. And it's beautiful and it's great. And that's why Ergo is such a robust ecosystem. And that's why he's able to build these ecosystems. And that's why he's able to build them in such a way that if he's not there anymore, the ecosystem still goes on. That's why. And that's why, like I said, personally, if Alex just decides, okay, guys, I'm done with this. I'm going to stop talking to you or whatever. He's not going to do that. But, if that happens, we're going to be really sad. We really like him as a person. He does contribute a lot to the code and to the mission of Ergo. But will it break Ergo? No way. There's other teams working on Ergo that are independent teams. There are a lot of developers working on it. Some just might not be public about it. There's a lot of anonymous development going on Ergo. We have quite a few anonymous teams, and others will pick up. Others will pick up the resource debt that would be left if Alex decided to leave. So yeah, definitely. As on a personal level, yeah, it would be very sad for us if Alex decided that he didn't want to be in the Ergo ecosystem anymore. Will the ecosystem break? No way in hell, because that is how this ecosystem is built. It's built to last and not be about one person. And actually, I have an issue sometimes explaining this to some outside parties when we work or when I try to get Ergo recognized, or when Ergo other companies work with Ergo. Like, say, so who's the guy? Like, the guy for what? Oh, the guy, the guy. Who's your Charles Hoskinson? I was like, it's Alex, right? No, not really. He doesn't want to be a Charles Hoskinson. And even Charles Hoskinson is not a Charles Hoskinson that you think, right? We have different people, taking care of different verticals in Cardano. Charles is not sitting there typing away all the code that you see in Cardano. He's not there in his basement, because I see these comments sometimes on his tweets. Charles, instead of doing ABCD, you should be there finishing up Cardano. Like, no, he's not in the basement. It's somewhere developing Cardano when he's not on Twitter. Okay. That's the whole point of a decentralized ecosystem. It's just not how it works. It's not just that one guy. The reason why people think that way is because we're built to think that way. We're built to think that there's like this main guy. There has to be a leader. Take me to your leader. There has to be a leader. He's the one that's going to make all the decisions. But then that's not decentralized. That's like the feudal system. It's not decentralized. That's like a caste type of thing. So that defeats the point of what we're doing. Yeah. So I know I kind of went on a tangent there, but no, it wouldn't break us. You were saying, Joe?
It's a good tangent. Listen, long term, what I would like to see You know, you always say the 5-year question, right? In 5 years or so, I would love to see parallel organizations to the EF that contribute and actively debate over the core protocol of Ergo. We see the same thing with Bitcoin, where you have kind of multiple organizations that are always tinkering, planning, discussing, debating where to take the core protocol. And luckily on Ergo, the miners are ultimately going to be the ones that vote and back that. So, in terms of like the Ergo Foundation itself, even, I would like to see that decentralized in times, have, parallel competitors and have essentially let the market compete and good ideas win.
Yeah. It's with Ergo, it's our strength, but it's also kind of something that sometimes is a little cumbersome to deal with for some entities, because we're so decentralized, because there isn't one guy you go to. I mean, even for what I'm doing with Ergo, a lot of times I have to talk to different people about different things. Even if I talk to the Ergo Foundation about something, it doesn't mean that it's going to be a wide ecosystem change that we're implementing. We can only persuade this change, and that is, that is the whole point. There is no centralized body. There are influencing bodies, but none of these bodies hold so much influence that they can basically just kind of steamroll over everybody else and get their own way, because that is not right, and that's not how the system should work. So it's just all about compromising. It's all about understanding the system, and it's all about knowing what you're trying to get and how to get it from the ecosystem, and who to talk to, and who to be transparent with. Because I think a lot of these things happen, or you can make a lot of things happen with transparency, right? So you're out there, you make your case to the community, or make your case, and you say, okay, guys, so this is what I want to do. This is what I want to bring to the ecosystem. I've spoken to this person and this person and this person that are, leaders of the ecosystem. This is their opinion. I would like to bring this. Please, please give me your consensus. Please give me your help. And then the community will decide if this is something they want to dispense. And it doesn't have to be unanimous. There just has to be enough to persuade whatever you're trying to make happen. All right. Well, I think that's a good that's a good little tangent to finish it up on. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I think ultimately that distribution of power is important. That, I can't emphasize enough, we are a proof of work network. So, governance in our network should be in the hands of miners. Now, ultimately, we can have discussions with miners. We can build things for them to vote on. We can, drive an intelligent conversation in terms of how they can use their hash rate. Ultimately, they are running a business, right? And so there needs to be, some sort of balance that we find long term. And hopefully, as we move into the future, we really start that conversation on a high level. And I hope that it's something that grows and we avoid a lot of the trauma, stuff in the past, and simply, find a certain synchronicity between, developers, miners, and ultimately the users that are driving the value to both.
Absolutely. Well, I guess that's all the time we have for today. So like I said, I look forward to seeing everybody at Consensus, and we will have more information about the meetup as we figure it out. So I think that's it, right, Joe?
That's right.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning in this week, and we will talk to you next week.
Have a good one, everyone.